Boston, Mississauga. That's great. Okay. Mississauga, Toronto. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself while we continue to get the chat going. And I will address questions and anything else. So I'm really excited that you're here. Thanks so much for joining. Welcome if you're joining us from TikTok. This is my free masterclass on how to land a new role in 2024. So a little bit about me. I did my undergrad in human resources management, and I absolutely loved studying HR. HR was something that was so interesting and intriguing to me, and I had such an incredible time studying that. Sorry. I had such a great time studying HR. And then when I went to work in HR, I didn't enjoy it as much anymore. And I started to follow my passions during my career. And that led me to studying leadership and community engagement. And that's what I did my master's in. I have always worked in the nonprofit sector and really enjoyed my time in the nonprofit sector, especially in fundraising, major gift fundraising, corporate sponsorship, foundation, and partnering with different foundations. And I ended up doing my certification as a fundraising executive, and I have that as well. I brand myself and my business name under Level Up with Sonia as my business. I say that I've leveled up several times in my career, and I want to help other people level up as well. In 7 years, I went from assistant to coordinator to program officer to manager, and now I work as a director. And just a little bit more about me, just so you know, a little bit more fun stuff. I volunteer on 2 boards. I am on the Toronto Cat Rescue Board, and that's where I got my cat Toby. And then I also volunteer for the Peel Community Climate Council. So when we're moving on to the next slide, this is really what everyone came here for today. It's the job search strategy roadmap. How are you going to land a job in 2024? This is the strategy that I cover with all of my one-on-one clients and sessions. I walk them through each of these pillars and navigate how you can strengthen each of these pillars. So this is it. This is all it is. Everybody can log off now. You have everything you need. I'm just kidding. So we're going to take a deep dive on each one of them. I wish I could spend an hour on each one because each of these are so critical. But the purpose of today is to really scratch the surface and give you the foundation that you need so that by the end of the hour, you feel confident and you feel successful to go off and do this on your own. Now, if at the end of the session, you're thinking, maybe I need a little bit more support. Maybe I want to work one-on-one with someone. I do have a special offer that I've been teasing on social media for everyone that's able to join. Or if you did sign up for the link, I will be emailing out the offer as well as the link for the webinar that you can access and go through again as you'd like. So diving right in, I do want to hear from you in the chat actually. So I hope I don't go too far. In the chat, which one do you want to hear most about? Which one do you have the most questions about? Which one are you most intrigued about? What do you think is really going to help you in understanding more about your career journey and how you're going to get to what your goals are? So go ahead and put that in the chat, and I'm going to keep chatting away about goals because I just addressed that that's what we're here to do. We want to reach our goals. Resume and cover letter. Okay, amazing. Okay, a lot of resume and cover letter. All right, I'll try to spend quite a bit of time. Interview skills. Always okay. Second choice candidate. Okay, I'll try to address this as well. That's a tough one, and I recently made a TikTok video on this as well, and I think the comment section blew up. I think a lot of people really resonated with that, and being the second choice in an interview can be so discouraging. But there's things that we can say. There's narratives that we can paint to really close the gap and try to not give the recruiters and the hiring manager any doubt. Okay. Goal setting. I'm sure you've heard a lot about goal setting in January, but I want to reframe your goal setting from a careers perspective. And I want to give you a little bit of a framework that won't overwhelm you when it comes to careers. In particular, I want you to think about what your long-term goal is. What is the end game for you? In 20 years from now, what do you see yourself doing? That's your long-term goal. Then you're going to think about your short term goals. What are the smaller 5 to 10 year ish goals that's going to help you reach your long term goals? What are the skills that you need to build to help reach these goals? What are the transferable skills that you can apply to reach these goals? Then I want you to think about one of these short-term goals being the next role that you want to move into, the next job you want to move into. Keep that in mind as you go through today's presentation. Then goal changing. So I think this is really important because as you go through your career, you're going to experience new likes, new passions, new interest. And because of that, your long term goal might end up changing. From when I graduated university after studying HR, my long term goal changed about 5 times. And that's okay because I'm doing what I love. I'm following my passions and I'm making money from my passions. Okay. Now we're going to move into personal branding. So, this is the first pillar in the job search strategy. And we're going to continue to move on with personal branding. This is the number one pillar. This is how it starts. And this is so critical. So, in the chat, let me know, do you have a personal brand? Do you think personal brand is like this weird buzzword? You have no idea what it actually stands for. How do you feel about it? Are you intimidated by it? Please let me know. And I'm going to start off by telling you what personal branding is. Personal branding buzzword. Yep. Yep. So personal branding is the clear and very conscious and intentional narrative that you put around who you are and what value you're able to bring to an employer, a hiring manager, HR, the team. You can also think about it from an entrepreneurial perspective. Your personal brand tells your clients, tells your community who you serve and what you do. It's really important from a careers perspective. If you're pursuing corporate careers or anything along those lines, having a personal brand is going to really help you get ahead and really going to help you stand out. 71% of people that have a personal brand is deemed to move further ahead in the hiring process. You're going to have more hits on your resume. The robot, I like to call them the robot, who's screening your resume. They're going to pick up more of that from your personal brand. They're going to see that alignment. You're going to get more calls for interviews. Having a personal brand makes you credible. It tells people that you know what you're doing. You are confident in what you're doing. And when you're confident in what you're doing, you also are able to communicate that better. Communication can also be another buzzword in the industry. You hear that a lot of time. I hear that a lot of times in interviews. The candidate will say they're a strong communicator. Okay, great. Well, I want you to show me that. Okay, let's move on. Components of personal branding. So keep in mind that personal branding alone can be a 1 hour session with me because we really deep dive and understand what your goal is, understand what the next role is that you're trying to move into, and really try to understand what those keywords are, what the strengths are that are required to help you stand out in your personal branding and also helps build a narrative around what your passions and your interests are that align with this field. So in the chat, drop in what your sector, or anything along those lines are. If anyone else is having trouble hearing me, just let me know in the chat. Okay, so in the field, in the sector, let me know where you're coming from so that we can try to come up with some words together. That might really help me so that I can help you as much as I can customize this experience for you. Okay, so I'm going to go over two examples. So let's go over the high school one. I like this because in case you're coming from this from a perspective that maybe you don't have a lot of experience, you're going to be, okay, human resources, learning and development, tech. Okay, amazing, amazing. HR. So the student leader, the skills and attributes that we came up with them include being a student leader, knowledge seeking, and very involved in their community. What inspires them is building a network and discovering their passions. Let's skip over to the marketing manager one now. So maybe this is someone who has a little bit more experience in their field. Their skills, their attributes that they bring to the table include storytelling, being a strong listener, and project management. What inspires them is sharing impact through storytelling. See how the skills and attributes that we picked out for these specific people going into these are the roles that they're currently in or desiring to move in. These are specific skills and attributes that were picked out as keywords in their field, keywords that's going to help them stand out in their job search, in their personal branding, in their interviews. And we're going to get to all of that. And what inspires you also adds a human touch to the personal brand. It doesn't make it so robotic. It helps kind of draws the alignment on why. Why are you in this field? Why are you in this role? Building your tagline. Your tagline is a component of your personal brand. So you can imagine that your personal brand is like that fancy buzzword. How are we going to get to your personal brand? So by building your personal brand, think about your tagline rolling up to your personal brand. Your tagline is your personal brand. And your tagline is a tangible way for you to have your personal branding in different areas. So we'll talk about that too. So your tagline is only going to have a few components, a few words that really cut to the point and really explain what you do, who you serve. And again, it's short and concise. So I have a few examples here. Community engagement and fundraising professional, seasoned finance professional, passionate environmental consultant, storyteller, and marketing professional. So these are just a few examples of clients that I've worked with. The first one is actually me for a very long time in my career. Community engagement and fundraising professional is what was on the top of my resume, was on the top of my LinkedIn profile, and it was something that I used to help brand myself. The next component of your personal brand that is a tangible aspect that you can pull apart and use is building your elevator pitch. Now, I know this looks really overwhelming because remember, when I work one on one with clients, this whole entire module of personal branding does take around an hour. And this is exactly what we build out. And I help clients slice and dice this for different scenarios. So, your elevator pitch is going to be what you use when you introduce yourself in interviews, when you're going to use components of it. You're not going to use the entire thing, but you're going to use components of it when you are introducing yourself at networking events. Maybe you're trapped in an elevator with the CEO. You're not going to spiel this whole thing to your CEO. You're going to use parts of it, and we'll get to that. So in this, you're going to start with your introduction, who you are, what your tagline is. Perhaps you have credentials, you studied, you did a certificate in the field. It's relevant. If it's not relevant, I would leave it out. If you've worked in the sector for several years, that's also really critical, but you don't have to put that if you're newer to the field. And I'll tell you why, because we go into skills and abilities later. Then you're going to put in that sentence that we talked about in the previous part about attributes and what you're passionate about. You're going to put in that why you're passionate. My passion has always been blank. Sometimes that sentence is a little bit longer, so you don't actually need to go in and do the because part. But when you write it out, you're going to see what's comfortable for you and what makes most sense for you. Okay, this part's really exciting. Maybe if you didn't graduate in a relevant field or you don't have anything beyond high school, that's completely fine because you can build out the skills and abilities section to really help brand yourself. So you can say, I have a successful track record of, and then what it is that you have done really well. Or you could say, my strengths include X, Y, Z. Now, remember in the previous slides, we talked about what your attributes are. Some of them were storytelling, some of them were I can go back. Some of them were being organized, problem solving, successful fundraiser, taking initiative, project management. That is what you plug and play. Oops, that's what you plug and play into my strengths include. Now remember, these are also keywords that need to be incorporated and pulled out of position descriptions that you're looking to apply for. Next, you're going to move into the wrap up piece. So I wrote out a few here. The second one is really good for a informational interview if you're going on a coffee chat with someone, because you're going to have this really nice script and then you're going to be like awkwardly staring at them and then they're not sure if they're done speaking. So it's always nice to kind of wrap it up very nicely. So if you're in a coffee chat with someone, you can say, I look forward to learning more about your career journey because I'm interested in XYZ, or I'm interested in XYZ. If you're in an interview, you can say, thank you so much for your time, for inviting me for this interview. I'm really looking forward to sharing more about my skills and my experience with you. So that's a really good way to kind of tie that up. So this is a really critical slide. So feel free to take a picture really quickly of it while I just check the chat and while I just check if there's anybody in the waiting room. Nope, we're all good. Okay, so we're gonna move on now. Putting your personal brand to work. I love this because once you put all this effort into your personal brand and you have something beautiful, then you can slice and dice it and have it work for you, even when you aren't working. You can put together a beautiful LinkedIn profile, and recruiters can be reaching out to you because they understand what value you bring to the organization, what value you bring to them. So online, you're going to want to have that tagline that you came up with. You'll put that on your LinkedIn profile. You can put that in your banner photo. You can also put this if you have like a professional Instagram, a professional TikTok, anything that you use on a professional basis, you can put your tagline in there as well. And by having consistent taglines on all of your platforms, that is essentially your personal brand. That is how you're branding yourself. Okay, in person, we talked about the CEO, we talked about interviews. So the interview, you would want to go into the full script. That's a really good use of skills. Oh, sorry. That's a really good use of skills, is going through that in the interview process. If you're talking to someone in a networking event, you don't want to go through this whole thing. Trust me, it's going to be loud. It's going to be overwhelming. You'll want to say what your name is. You'll want to dive into what your successful track record is. You don't have to say it like that. You can say my experience lies in, or I've spent the majority of my career in, rather than I have a successful track record of, because you're not trying to convince them of anything. It's not an interview, but you do want to build a really nice connection with them. And you really want them to understand what it is that you do and that you can do. Because if there are potential opportunities in the future to work where they work, then they can help draw those parallels without you even really having to ask so much out of them. So keep that in mind. And also a really good talking point for networking events for using your personal brand is implementing more of like projects that you've worked on, and because people will remember that. That's a storytelling component, which is great for networking. And then the last way that you can use your personal brand is in print. So again, on your cover letter and your resume, right under your name should be your tagline. That's really critical. If you are putting together business cards that perhaps you make your own, you can put your tagline in there. It might not be so appropriate if you're having corporate business cards from your company and then you put your tagline there, but it really just depends on what your comfort level is. Maybe you don't have credentials to put at the end of your name on a business card, so there might be space to put your tagline on your business card. It really just depends on the scenario. Okay, so that's personal branding. We're going to move right along because we're already at almost half an hour. So I'm just mindful that we have quite a bit of this to go through. We're going to dive right into resumes. In the chat, tell me how many pages your resume is, and we're going to come back to that. So I'm going to help you build a show-stopping resume. We're going to address the reality. Now, the reality is if a human gets to your resume, this means that the company might be small enough that a human is scanning it. There's no ATS system that's scanning it. The robot's not scanning it. If a human is scanning it, or if HR is scanning it, and that's part 2 of the process, they're only taking between 6 to 8 seconds to scan your resume. 6 to 8 seconds is not a lot of time. 80% of CVs don't even make it past the initial screening, and that is typically the robot. And only 11% of candidates who applied for the role are deemed suitable for the role. 11%, that is alarming coming from when I read that, I thought that was absolutely alarming because there is so much that that just shows to me that candidates aren't aligning, they're not tailoring their resume, their cover letter, and having the robot pick up on keywords.
Not sure I
Oh,
understand.
sorry. The other robot was talking to me. Okay, so I want to check what 2 pages, 2 pages, two. Okay, one. Do I have to add all of my experience on my resume? Okay, good question, Rebecca. Thank you for that prompt. So here is a slide where I want to focus on what your resume needs to have. So we already talked about keywords, action words. Every bullet that starts should have an action word. That could be coordinating, managing, implementing, et cetera, et cetera. I actually have a resume builder that I'm going to send out in addition to the recording for this. And it has a list of 100 action words, and I highlighted my most favorite ones so you can use as well. Anything that you can quantify, quantify. That helps a lot. They say a rule of thumb is that for each experience on your resume, you should be able to quantify that. And in terms of addressing Rebecca's question, no, not everything should go on your resume. Recruiters are typically experienced in what it is that they're recruiting for their organization. So for example, a recruiter at a grocery store, HR at a grocery store, or a hiring manager at a grocery store. If you were a cashier before, you don't need to write that you bagged groceries, you helped with customer service, you dealt with cash. These are all the basic duties of a cashier. What's critical here is your achievements, it's your accomplishments. How did you go above and beyond? What did you do that was stellar or that allowed you to take on leadership opportunities? And being a leader doesn't mean that you were trying to get to the next level or you were a team lead or anything along those lines. It's just showing your skills or highlighting opportunities that you took on leadership, not that you necessarily were the leader in that scenario. Okay, if your resume has an objective statement, we need to get rid of that. So we are now moving into profiles, professional profiles, and this is quite critical. Now, the great thing about what we just went through in personal branding is that elevator pitch that we came up with essentially can be massaged and crafted to be your professional profile. to highlight what your skills are, to highlight what your successful track record is. And that way, that helps pull up keywords as well. And it's right there. It's in the first 1/3 of your resume, and it's right underneath your tagline. Profile summary. So here's an example of, I'll just read out one example for time's sake. But one example is analytically driven project manager with 5+ years experience working in the environmental sector. Highly adaptable and experienced in engaging various groups of stakeholders to achieve optimal results. So for me, I don't even know what the title is for this person, but I can see that 5 years of experience. Maybe they're going for a junior consultant or a consultant role. They work with stakeholders. That's incredible. They have great interpersonal skills. They know how to engage large groups of people. That's wonderful. So, from this one summary, I'm able to draw so many connections as a recruiter, as a hiring manager, of what this person is capable of doing and what value they bring to my team. Okay, those of you that said 2 pages, I want to challenge you if you can get it down to just 1 page, keeping in mind that not every single piece of content and every bullet that you have doesn't need to go on your resume. That is what your LinkedIn profile is for. That is where you have more real estate to expand on your job duties and leave your resume as a 1 pager, high level overview and high hitting in terms of what your accomplishments are and what you can do. Okay, cover letters. Write in the chat for me, how long do you spend editing every cover letter for every application you apply to? And I want to make mention to profile summary, and I want to make mention to content. So, a lot of career coaches out there will tell you that you need to spend a ton of time editing your cover letter and your resume for every application you apply to. I somehow managed to get through my entire career by hacking the system and creating a evergreen resume, because every time I was applying for new roles, it was all very similar roles. So the keywords are the same, what I need to highlight are the same. Sometimes I needed to swap certain words in and out because I wasn't necessarily using the language that they wanted me to use. So, for example, I was using organizational skills, but they were really looking for attention to detail. Well, I have that. I needed to swap it out so that my resume would go to the top of the pile. So that's another trick so that you don't spend too much time editing your resume, because you can build a stellar resume and use it 100 times. Whereas your cover letter is where you need to put a little bit more effort into the examples that you're showcasing. Okay, let's see. I never use cover letters. Most jobs I've applied never require them. Okay, that's great. It's great that you know that they do and they don't require them, because a key thing is that if a job posting specifically says, please submit your cover letter and your resume to so and so and so, if you are not submitting a cover letter, then you're not following instructions. That is a huge red flag to hiring managers, a huge red flag to recruiters. If you When I was working as a hiring manager, HR had to scan all of the applications that came in, and then HR would send me that file to me of candidates that they thought were suitable for the role. And what would happen is candidates who only submitted a resume and not a cover letter when a cover letter was required didn't get into my hands. Those applications, those resumes and cover letters never got into my hands. So they disqualified themselves. Even though they've applied, they've already disqualified themselves. So it's really important that you're following instructions. Sometimes it will even outline what they want to see in your cover letter. How many bullet points are ideal for each experience? Is that for the resume you're asking, Geeta? Let me know if that's for the resume. Okay, let's see here. I've heard this so many times. It takes too long to extensively tailor my cover letter to every job posting. Yes, okay, I'm gonna go into a formula for cover letter as well. Do recruiters read the entire cover letter or do they skim it in short period of time? They do spend a little bit more time on the cover letter for sure. But it's important to have those key skills that they're looking for. Also regarding is 2 pages okay for a senior role, 10 plus years experience? Yes, okay. So there are caveats to my one-page rule. If you have 15, 20 years experience and you've also changed industries and you've changed sectors several times, that's completely understandable. But keep in mind that I just recently rewrote a resume for a client who has 20 years experience. He changed industries twice and I was able to get his resume down to 1 page. And then I was able to provide more additional backup information for him to use for his LinkedIn profile. So it can be done. Okay, I want to go into my framework for cover letters. So this is a great way. Once you build an amazing cover letter, you can use my formula to build out your framework. And then this way, it only takes around hopefully 20 minutes to tailor each cover letter. So you'll start off by saying, I'm ecstatic to apply. I'm delighted to apply for this role at this organization. I found it on this website. You can sometimes disclose if you would like. Sometimes they do like to hear about where they found it from, especially if you're just emailing it to someone. Or sometimes when you apply to like their online portal, they don't have an option for you to say where you found the role. So you can put that in if you'd like. Then in the very first paragraph, you're going to allude to 3 very specific skills that you have that align with the position description. You can say it in the words of, I would be a strong candidate for this position as I have experience in X, Y, Z. And those words are pulled straight from the job posting. Then the body of your cover letter is going to be 2 short paragraphs. These short paragraphs are going to represent relevant examples from your career that align with the position description, that align with what they're looking for, that align with the skills and experience that they're looking for, or that at least they can draw parallels. The way you're going to explain what your experience was, what you did, and I can give you a formula for that later. I call it my hero bank, where you're able to build examples and draw those parallels. So you can use examples from your hero bank, which we'll get to, and then you're going to very nicely write a sentence at the end of each of those paragraphs and say, this experience will allow me to, and then that's where you enter a sentence around what is required for that role. Do you need to engage with stakeholders? Do you need to raise funds? Do you need to project manage a large task? Do you need to coordinate large teams? Whatever it is that aligns with your experience and what that company is requiring of you, you're going to leave your last sentence to draw that parallel. Then in the conclusion, you're going to acknowledge that you've done research on the company. You align with this opportunity because of either their values, their mission, their vision, a campaign, a project, something that they're working on right now that really entices them and that they understand that you understand that there is alignment here, not only in just your skills and your experience, but in your personal values and the values that they represent as a company. That is the secret sauce. And then you're going to end strong. You're going to be very polite. You're going to say, You're going to say something along the lines of, I would be pleased to attend an interview to further discuss how my skills would be an asset to your team, or something along those lines. But you're going to end with confidence. You're going to be very confident about it. Okay, so a couple of tips for cover letters. Show enthusiasm. You want to be really ecstatic. You want that to come across in your tone. You want to connect the dots. Like I said, I gave great pointers on how to connect the dots. Avoid repetition. Try to use examples that aren't too similar. I think that's going to be really important here so that it can show that you have a diverse skill set. That's going to be quite important. Be honest. Don't stretch your experience too much. I know sometimes when you're writing, it can be really easy to kind of just stretch the truth a little bit, but be honest. It's really important. You don't want that to come back later when in an interview when they're like, but you said here that you've done this. Also use professional tone and follow instructions. So like I said, if a cover letter is required, it is required. Please submit it. Don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. And if they ask for anything special to be in your cover letter, then make sure that you've included that as well. Okay. Cover letters for career changers. So I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if you are moving from industry to industry, it's a very competitive job market. You got to build a very compelling case. This is why the narrative is so important. Again, express your genuine enthusiasm, changing your career, your field, your sector. Sometimes this might raise red flags. So you want to address all these red flags in your cover letter. This is your opportunity to address them before they even meet with you. So showing your enthusiasm, explaining exactly why you're passionate about this is really going to help you in the long run. And if that's the case, if you are a career changer, we can do a deep dive together so that your personal brand can entail all of this together. Next, focus on transferable skills. The transferable skills is what is going to help you move from sector to sector. For example, there was someone that I was helping. He was working in banking for many, many years, and he was working in fraud. He was essentially a project manager. And when he used keywords like monitoring, evaluation, implementation, he shared with me that he wanted to move into the nonprofit sector. He thought that he had to start from the bottom because he was moving into a completely different sector. But when I sat down with him and I understood what his skills are, what value he brings, we were able to find him managerial level roles in a brand new sector, all because of his transferable skills. Because program managers need to evaluate, monitor, implement. He just did it in a different landscape. Okay, LinkedIn profiles. LinkedIn is another one that I could do a whole other hour on, but for the purpose of landing you a new role in 2024, I really want to just cover off the basics with you on what you need to do today, tomorrow, by the end of this weekend. I want to see some of these changes. So in the chat, I want to know, how often are you logging into LinkedIn and engaging? And don't feel intimidated by the word engaging. I can clarify what I mean by engaging. Engaging doesn't mean that you're writing your own posts daily. All it means is that you're liking, you're commenting, maybe you're reposting somebody else's posts, but liking and commenting at a minimum. So go ahead and write that in the chat for me so that I can drink some water. Not enough? Okay. I appreciate the honesty. Few times a week. That's incredible. Your posts are amazing. I can tell you that. I see them all the time. Every other day currently liking and not commenting. Okay, so that's a start. You're liking, commenting would be great too. It's really great for your exposure to show that you're liking and commenting, because that is such a good trick My friends do this all the time because when you like and you comment, that shows up on other people's feeds. It shows that you're active on LinkedIn. And it's a really good trick because when I tell my friends that, and other people will tell my friends that, and they're like, I'm not even doing anything. I'm not even making my own posts. I'm just liking, I'm commenting, I'm supporting other people. And that's just naturally showing up on people's LinkedIn profiles. So that's quite critical. Okay, what are you going to do to your LinkedIn profile? So, why is it important first? In the landscape of job searching, ooh, your LinkedIn profile, having a good LinkedIn profile gives you a higher chance of landing a job interview. The data shows that LinkedIn profiles that were subpar or lacked information or really good content, they didn't end up moving on in the hiring process. And there was a bar graph. I really wish I put this bar graph in, but it was really simple. LinkedIn profiles, the views seem to decline with years of experience. So, what does that mean? This means that if you are newer, if you have less years of experience, it's even more critical that you have a good LinkedIn profile. Okay, so having a good LinkedIn profile. And again, that doesn't mean that you have to be there every single day. But if you don't have a good LinkedIn profile, maybe it's best you don't link it to your resume then, because oftentimes that's what happens. They're going to click on that when they view your resume electronically. It's going to take them to the subpar LinkedIn profile, and then they're going to be underwhelmed, and then they're just going to close your resume and move on. So focus on, it only takes a couple hours. You can really get this done in an afternoon or 2 hours set aside on a weekend, and you can really brush up your LinkedIn profile. What do I want your LinkedIn profile to look like? This is your top priority. This picture over here was taken from a LinkedIn forum posted by LinkedIn on what your LinkedIn profile should look like. So the key components here is a cover photo that is fun and also it's light, it's in alignment with the work that they do. There's hashtags, there's keywords here. That's great. Then there is a beautiful tagline. So if you are a multifaceted professional, like many of us in the room are, there's a lot of things you do. There's a lot of extensive volunteer work that you do. You wear many hats. You have a 9 to 5. You have a 5 to 9. You're going to put all of that in your tagline on LinkedIn, and you're going to divide that by line dividers. So this person's a youth ambassador for a organization, digital business strategist, growth expert, solutions architect, digital transformation expert, and founder. This is really exciting because this is the initial piece that people are going to see, recruiters and hiring managers are going to see when they come to your page. And I already know I already see this and I'm thinking, digital business strategist, founder, what are you a founder of? I want to know more. I'm enticed to keep looking on their profile. Then you're going to move into your experience and your skills. So we've already talked a lot about the experience that should go under the bullet points for your resume, and all the additional extra information goes into your LinkedIn profile. Then you're going to move into, then we're going to talk about, we'd already talked about it a little bit, liking, commenting, resharing. If you can get yourself to, if you're looking to make a move in your career, whether it's now or whether it's in a few months or whether you're going to start to look in about a month or time, now is the best time to start posting once a week. And I have great videos on TikTok and Instagram on what you can be posting. It doesn't have to be, totally groundbreaking. A lot of what you post can simply be volunteer work that you're doing, if your volunteer organization is looking for someone to fill these opportunities, if there's a job posting opened at your organization, you can share that. If you recently attended an event, post a picture of the event, tag the event organizers, the company, show gratitude. If you'd recently completed a project, put up a picture of the project, tag the people that you worked with. If there was an award, if there was a conference, there are so many things that you could be posting on LinkedIn. And there's a lot of collaborative pieces too that you can be posting where you're tagging other people. And the more people you're able to engage on your posts by tagging them, the more they're going to like, comment, reshare. And now your profile is getting a ton of hits and a ton of views, which is incredible. And it's incredible because you have this incredible personal brand that tells people what you do and who you serve. We have to remember that recruiters often, if they're external, then sometimes it's commission based. It's their job. Also, if you're an internal recruiter, you have KPIs. These these hiring managers, these recruiters, these HR staff members, they want to place people into the role. They want to find the right candidate for the role. So the better off your profile aligns with your personal brand and your personal brand aligning with what the organization is looking for, the easier it is for you to start landing interviews. You can start waking up to messages in your inbox about potential job opportunities. And the other thing I want to mention too, it's not on here, but I recently read about recommendations. Having 3 recommendations as a minimum on your LinkedIn profile is so critical because it helps the algorithm, it helps prioritize your profile when hiring managers and recruiters are typing in what skills and what industry you're coming from. Now, it can be a little bit intimidating to get recommendations. Um, I always suggest reaching out to previous managers, previous supervisors. Even if you were a volunteer, the person who was managing you as a volunteer, that's really good recommendations for you to put in as well. The other piece is you can have a peer write a recommendation on you. If you work together on a team and you did something and you were collaborative, that's okay. I had that really early in my career as well. I had 2 peers write reviews for me, and it helped quite a bit. Okay, how critical is that your LinkedIn profile is very small? I built my profile recently-ish. I'm not too sure if recruiters can't see it because of size and if it takes me off the game. So it is better to have more connections only because if you have first and second degree connections that work at the organization that you're looking to apply to, then that also prioritizes your LinkedIn profile getting to the top of their feed. But of course, there's other ways. There's other ways in terms of reaching out directly to the recruiter, letting them know that you've applied, letting them know that you're really passionate and interested about it. And oftentimes that's why LinkedIn makes it public. And now you can see in certain people's roles, I've been seeing this in the last few years for certain job titles that people have, there's a badge that says LinkedIn helped me get this job. And that's exactly what happened. So the more that you have that works specifically for that company, the better. But there are other things you can do to offset and really ensure that you have a stellar profile so it's getting all of the hits you need. Okay, I'm going to move on because I'm mindful of time and we still have the interviewing one to get through. So nail your interview. Nailing your interview can be a whole other chapter on its own. So I'm going to try to fly through this. Develop your personal brand. We already talked about it. Build your hero bank. I teased this a little bit earlier. I have a whole slide on this next. Strengths and weaknesses. You're going to want to prepare minimum 3 strengths. And remember, these strengths, you're not making them up out of thin air. Those strengths are coming exactly from the position description. You need to mirror what they're asking for. Weaknesses, you're only going to pick out 1 weakness. I have a list of weaknesses over on TikTok that you can pick from. Do not say that being a perfectionist is one of your weakness because they've heard it before. And I want you to say something different. I want you to say something that they haven't heard before. So pick something that you are being intentional, how you're working on it, etc. Questions for the interviewers. This is important because it shows that you're engaged. It shows that you want the job. If you're stuck on this, I have a free digital download in my bio, 37 questions to ask at the end of your interview. And they're actually good questions. No, don't ask all 37, just pick a few. And salary range. You don't want to be stunted by this question. You want to go in there doing your research. Hopefully, it's a good company where they've already put out what the range is, but still, we have a long way to go to ensure that all companies are doing that. So make sure you use pages like Glassdoor and I think Indeed to look at competitor company competitive titles. Your hero bank. This is my absolute favorite thing ever. This, by using my hero bank method, you are replacing the star method. I do not like the star method. I am very vocal about it. I find candidates ramble. It takes too long when they're telling their answer in an interview. When it comes to situational interview questions, I want you to replace it with an example from your hero bank using problem, process, impact. Your hero bank is a list of examples that make you the hero of your career. I see the chat going off. Oh, okay, good. I hate that. Yep. Okay. Yep. I'm going to try to hold questions until the end so I can fly through this and make sure that you get all the content that you need. So how you build this out is problem, process, impact. You're going to start with what is the problem? What is the problem you are trying to solve? I was working at XYZ organization and my issue was XYZ. Then you're going to move into the process. What was the steps you took, the process, to solve the problem? Now, this could be multiple steps. And it's okay. I know that I said that you need to be the hero of the story, but for the purpose of your process only, it's okay to say that you've worked with other people, that you've worked with, that you had to consult this person and this senior leader. And that's okay. That's part of the process. It's critical. So sometimes your process can be like 3 to 5 steps. That's okay. Then you're going to wrap this answer up by saying what the impact was because of the work you did. See how I highlighted the word you? Because you are the hero of the story. They are waiting to hear what you did that was stellar to help the ROI, the return on the investment, to help efficiency, to help productivity. So really accentuate you in the answer. The more that you can accentuate what you did, the more in their head they can draw those parallels and know, okay, if that person, if Sarah did that at this company, imagine what Sarah could do for us. And that's what you want them thinking in their head when you're interviewing. Okay, tips, speak slowly. You want to show your confidence, and speaking slowly also gives you a little bit of time to like think through what your answer is. Don't speak as fast as I am right now. I'm clearly just trying to get through this for us. So speak with a really good pace, think through your answer. Practice in the mirror. This is really important because I want you to know what your facial expression looks like. What does your body language look like? I want you to feel comfortable with the faces that you're making. I want you to show that you're enthused, to show that you're excited to be there. Next, first impressions matter. You're going to come on, and whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, you're going to dress the part. You're going to be confident. You're going to bring the right supplies. You're going to bring a notepad if it's in person, bring a pen, bring copies of your resume. Don't skip the small talk. That's really important. It can be like, I know it's bizarre, like the weather. I had an interview like downtown Toronto once, and I told them that I went through the path system and it was like a maze, but I'm so glad I'm here. So that's small talk. That's the chit chat. Be conversational, and you can do that by researching the panel. Research the people that you are interviewing with, understand what their career trajectory was so that you can ask them questions and you can tailor questions to them in the interview. Okay, now we finished the roadmap, but you're probably wondering, but Sonia, where does networking play a role in any of this? I am going to get to that. Networking is critical in your job search strategy, but I didn't put it in any specific order because networking is what you do in your everyday. There isn't a specific time. You don't have to think about networking. The world has changed. You don't think about networking anymore as getting dressed up, doing your hair and makeup, taking the train to go downtown and going to this big, fancy, overwhelming event. No, you can come online, you can network. You can network with your neighbors. You can network with your family members. You can ask your family members to introduce you to people. It's this big web, and you can think about it in your everyday. Very quick story. My sister used to babysit for our next door neighbor, and little did my sister know, who was going to teachers college, the neighbor was a teacher who eventually got promoted to vice principal. How do you think my sister got her first teaching job? Yeah. So networking is what you do in your everyday. So I do have the networking slides. I know that we're going to go over time a little bit because I do want to show you what those networking slides are, but I promised you that there was going to be an offer coming to you if you want to take your career strategy job search to the next level. Yes, I'm giving you all the tools that you can do it yourself. You can DIY, you can go through the PowerPoint again and follow off this checklist. But if you want to work with a coach, I want to provide everyone on the call with a special offer, and that's a 3-month coaching offer. What's going to be included in this process is the vault. So the vault comes out on Friday. What that is I've rebranded, I've repackaged my courses to be stellar personal branding and interview prep courses. So anytime you feel like you want to redo your personal brand, or anytime you have an interview coming up, you can go through that course again and it will help you. The vault also includes my Level Up Your Career ebook, which is 10 chapters. It's going to help you land your new role and be successful when you get there. And it includes my Hero Bank template and examples. Then you're going to get support, step-by-step support, working with me, going through the entire strategy, going through the entire process, what we just talked about. Then you're going to get 6+ coaching calls. 2 of them will be 1 hour, their initial calls, and then you're going to get 4 30-minute check-ins to make sure that you're accountable. We're keeping you on track of your goals. If things aren't working, how do we need to shift it? So why did I say 6+? I said 6+ because I am not the type of coach that's going to say, okay, Sarah, you had your 6th session, you're done, I'm signing you off, you can't call me anymore. No, I am really passionate about the work that I do, and this is my business. This is my personal brand on the line. So I continue to work with you, whether that's through voice notes, email support, whether you need an additional 30 minutes, I'm going to be there to help you until you land your next role. Now, your investment. What is this going to cost you? Sarah, feel free, if you didn't already, feel free to add it into the chat, what the link is. So what the investment is, the regular price is $1,500, and I want to offer this to you for $999. That's $500 off because you took the time to show up today to really take your career to the next level, and I want to offer you something special. So if you're on TikTok and you want to see this as well, just send me an email at info@levelupwithsonia, and I'll connect with you after as well. But this is what I want to offer you, and the reason why I call it an investment is because anyone who works with me is not leaving. Oh, I'm going to get to Elena. So anyone who works with me, they're not working with me so that they can move into a similar role that they're already working in. They're working with me because they want to level up their career. So that might mean that they are at a minimum leaving for a job that is going to pay them $15,000 to $20,000 more. So your investment into your skills, your time, into your job search strategy is a fraction of what you're going to level up your career to be. And yes, payment plans are available. So feel free to check out that link. Let me know if you have any questions. I just really want to quickly share Elena's story with you because this makes me so proud. Elena came to me. She really wanted to, Elena really wanted to focus on her confidence. She really wanted to focus on her personal branding. She wanted a new job. She was ready. She needed to level up her career, and she had the skills to do so, but she wasn't articulating herself in the way that hiring managers wanted to hear from her. So she went through the 3-month process with me. We had several meetings together to work on her confidence, her personal brand, her cover letter, her everything in the job search strategy. We even did mock interviews together to get her prepared, to get her confidence where it needed to be. She still wasn't ready to start applying yet. When we started working together, it was April and May that we worked together. She wasn't ready to start applying for new roles yet. But then in September, the unexpected happened. She got laid off from her job. And she wasn't, again, like I said, she wasn't expecting to be laid off from her job. And what had happened was she was ready to kick her search into high gear. Nothing was holding her back anymore. She was really passionate about the previous company she was working with. She absolutely loved the boss that she was working with, and that was holding her back from leveling up her career. But when she got laid off, she took a week to decompose, to go on vacation. And when she came back, she kicked off her job search strategy in high gear. Because of all of the work that we did together, she was already interviewing for roles within a couple of weeks of applying because her personal brand was on point, her resume, her cover letter, her LinkedIn, everything was on point. Elena started her new job in November and she got exactly what she wanted. She is working remotely. Her organization covers travel pay to her office in Alberta, and she got the salary increase she was looking for. So I'm really, really happy and proud. And I wanted to share a success story of someone who went through that with me. So again, that offer is only available until the end of tonight. It won't be available after tomorrow. Okay. Going into networking, I promised you networking, even for networking, even for intro. Whoa, I went too far. Okay, so we talked about, remember I told you that story about my sister? You can ask for referrals. You can ask people that you know to introduce you to other people. Then LinkedIn. LinkedIn is such a critical place to network. You can send messages to people if you have a premium account, or you can see who knows who, and you can start asking people for introductions in other ways. Even if you don't have a premium account, there's other ways that you can go around your networking components. And in person, of course, I talked about the story about getting dressed up, going on a train, going downtown. Yes, that still happens, and it's still a good place to network and meet people. And then, of course, informational interviews. And when you have informational interviews, well, isn't it a good thing that you built your personal brand so you know exactly how to market yourself in these informational interviews? Mentors versus champions. Having a mentor is going to get you very far in your career. It's a trusted advisor, someone that you can connect with, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming for them. When I asked my mentor to be my mentor, I told her that all I'm looking for are monthly check-ins to talk to you about challenges in my career and how I can navigate different areas. So that's how I work with my mentor. Champions, on the other hand, are people who are influential and who can really help you in your career. These are people that have decision-making power in certain roles. They're going to be critical at your organization as well. So networking internally is going to be something really important. Okay, 2024 job market. What's happening? There's only 2 more slides left, I promise. So one of the things that's really critical, and I even had to tell this to my client that I was working with the other day because he said that I'm applying, I'm not hearing anything back. I said, okay, well, after you applied, did you message anyone at the company? Does the hiring manager know that you applied? Does the recruiter know that you applied? Does anyone else at the company know that you applied? He said no. It's such a tough job market out there. Technically, you have to reframe your mind. If you applied, if you haven't applied for the position until you've told someone at the company that you've applied for the position. So maybe you did apply to 100 jobs, but how many organizations, how many people at the organizations know that you've applied for that job? Is it 0? Because that's the issue. That's where we need to reframe how we're applying, how we're networking, how we're getting our resumes and cover letter out there. Okay, and the last slide, the rise of AI. So what are hiring managers and recruiters listening to in interviews? What do they want to hear from you? With the rise of AI, a lot of things have changed. Technology is so advanced. Technology can do components of our job, and they're really looking to understand that you have critical thinking skills, that you can think outside of the box, that you can potentially think of things specifically in your industry that maybe AI can't think of because AI isn't an expert in your industry. They want to know that you're strategic. AI isn't necessarily always strategic. And that's why it's important to show examples in your hero bank, in your interview, in your cover letter that you were strategic, that you can do research, make important decisions, and be independent. Next, adaptability. Things change so much. We've changed as humans. Organizations have changed. We've gone through a global pandemic. How can you adapt to external factors happening around us? How quickly can you pick up the pieces and shift when the CEO says, I don't want to do it this way anymore? We need to do it differently.